While we were streaming earlier this morning, we got the shocking news that a bunch of Firstborn stuff is going away, probably never to return. So you're telling me we've got breaking news? Okay, gang, let's have a look at this then. Let's have a look. So, new edition of 40k is finally with us, and with that means a new Space Marine Codex is looming on the horizon. Of course it is, it always is. Coming later this year will bring with it a host of new reinforcements for embattled Adeptus Astartes forces across the Imperium. The Space Marine range is already huge, so to make room for the glorious new miniatures, we're letting some of the longest serving kits depart the range for a well-earned retirement. What did I say? When they were talking about removing Horus Heresy stuff in order to make room for other things, to reduce the load in terms of balancing Space Marines, one of the things that I said was, why do we still have rules for bikes? Why do we still have rules for land speeders when we have the new Primaris bikes and new Primaris land speeders? Like, they retired the box naught went away. That got chucked. And they took out a bunch of Horus Heresy stuff to make it so that the Space Marine range was more easily managed and so it was more easily balanced. Why didn't they just sack these off when they were doing the balancing for the... Like, they must have known they're going to retire these. There's massive redundancy in having the old bikes and the new Outriders and the old land speeders and the new... What is it, the Tempest or whatever it's called? Why do it now? Why didn't they do it when they were working out all of this stuff before? They didn't. It's not like they suddenly went, actually, you know what? We will get rid of those. They must have had this planned. So why did the Space Marines list launch 4/10th with a bunch of rules that will no longer be necessary because they're going to scrap these kits before the Codex comes out? What a weird way to do it. They printed index cards and now they're getting rid of these models. What a way to do it. What a choice. Way to give the people hope as well, by the way. There's so many people who will have bikes and land speed and stuff and they'll be like, oh great, they aren't going anywhere. Ah, no, you're wrong. They're just not going anywhere now. Fans of Firstborn Marines should know no fear though. Contrary to heretical whispers in the new sphere, they're not being erased from the 41st, I always do that, 34th millennium. So Space Marines Codex still includes plenty of non-Primaris units if that's your preference. There'll still be tactical squads and devastator squads. Things that are being got rid of. The bike squad is going away, but you can still use them as Outriders, which again is exactly what we talked about. So that's good. Assault squads are going away, but you can still use the rules for Vanguard veterans to play with them. That's an interesting choice. Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's going to be plenty of people who are not happy about that because there isn't a Primaris jump squad available. Although surely that's something that they could implement. Surely that's something that they could actually do. Venerable Dreadnought also stays in the new Codex, but has shortened its name to just Dreadnought and can be used to represent older plastic or metal Dreadnoughts. Okay, sure, fine. Thunderfire Cannon or Landspeeder that won't have an appropriate analogue in the new Codex, but their rules will just shift to Warhammer Legends, and you'll be free to download here on Warhammer Community. So, what we're losing, good lord, wow. Okay, the attack bike and bike squad are both going, so is the scout bike squad and the land speeder. Again, those are all ones that we specifically highlighted as things that they could have just got rid of if they wanted to trim down the Space Marines list and make it easier to balance, and it was baffling as to why they kept them given how old they are, but now they're actually doing it anyway, so sure. Stalker/Hunter is disappearing. Ironclad's going. I mean, the Ironclad going is genuinely sad. The Assault Squad is an interesting move. I mean, they've still got stuff to show off for the Space Marines, so it might well be that what we actually see is just like updated Primaris Assault Squad that has got some sort of jump capacity. That would make sense. Company Command, I'm not surprised that's going at all, to be honest. Scouts and Scouts with Snipers, that's interesting. That's interesting because, again, there's not really an analogue for that in the Primaris range. The Librarian going, I can understand why that is, because like you don't need that and all the Primaris ones as well. The Tech Marine and Thunderfire Cannon, I'm not surprised that's going either. I mean, that's a holdover from I don't know how long. Is the Thunderfire Cannon even plastic? Is that resin? I can't remember. There's a few things here that I reckon we're just going to see a different version of. So, the Attack Bike, Bike Squad, Scout Bike Squad, they're already been replaced anyway. The Outriders and the Mario Kart were already replacements for that, so that's not surprising at all. The fact that they haven't called out the Primaris speeder as being like you can use your land speeder as that, I guess is down to the weapons options on it, because I'm pretty sure the Primaris one has got vastly different weapons to the land speeder, so it kind of makes sense why they'd say that. The land speeder Storm, again, there's not really an appropriate analog for that, is there? There's no proxy for that Primaris wise. The Stalker / Hunter, that just leads me to believe that they're probably going to bring out another Impulsor variant that's got some sort of shared thing on it that kind of fulfills a similar role. It's sad to see the Ironclad go, but it feels like they are just scrapping the Firstborn Dreadnoughts. The Boxnaught's gone, now the Ironclad will be gone, but the Venerable one will still be available. I mean, they're going to keep the Blood Angels special ones, aren't they? They're not going to chuck the Death Company Dread and the Furioso Dreadnought. They're not going to scrap those, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, Assault Squad, they've got to be coming up with a separate, like a Primaris version of that. Just removing jump troops. Like, close combat jump troops disappearing for Space Marines all out. Mad. That would be mental. Why would you do it? It seems like such a bad idea. There's so many, like, cool flavour things just vanishing for that. The Company Command. Does anyone use that? Does anyone use a company? I don't think I've seen anyone use a Company Command for I don't know how long. I've seen people buy them and paint them, but I don't think I've ever played anyone who's actually used Company Command. That could just be down to the limited pool of people I play, though, so don't take that as gospel, but maybe they're just going to update Scouts? Because it feels weird to lose Scouts completely. That would actually suck. If for no reason other than, like, narrative element. Like, having Scouts on the field learning how to be Space Marines, that's a... I don't know, it feels like an actual important part of the process. So for them to remove that would be a little bit naff, and then not replace it. The Librarian, again, not surprising. Tech Marine, not surprising. Thunderfire, not surprising. Librarian and Tech Marine already have Primaris versions. Jump Intercessors, I'm amazed they haven't done it anyway. But I feel like the little statement up here, so while Assault Squads are going away, you can still use the rules for Vanguard veterans to play with them. I think that's just a red herring, and they're gonna throw the Assault Intercessors in, and then you'll just be able to use Assault Squads as Assault Intercessors. I think it's a pretty good indication of what we're gonna see from the next preview, if nothing else. Like, it's not surprising because they've already started doing it. They've already started removing Firstborn stuff in some respects, and if it's already got a Primaris variant, then it's just going to be phased out and you can just use them as whatever. Now, the sucky thing would be if it was a case of, well, you just can't use your Firstborn models for anything, but the fact that they are specifically calling out to use them as different things is obviously the right thing to do. Like, collections built up over years, and there will still be plenty of people who don't want to buy Primaris stuff. Now, admittedly, if it comes to, like, I want to start a Firstborn White Scars army, you're out of luck. You're out of luck because bike squads, attack bikes, and scout bike squads are going away, and they will be gone away forever. The chances of them coming back is extremely slim. Maybe for, like, a limited made-to-order run, but that seems incredibly unlikely, to be honest. I can see them doing it for like, characters and the like, but I don't know that that's something they would approach for doing things like bike squads and stuff like that. But I'm not surprised. I mean, they first moved... Primaris arrived with a distinct, different feel to them in terms of the height difference, in terms of the background, and in terms of the extra wound. Then Firstborn Marines were just given that extra wound. And from that point on, I've just continually felt like, well, they're going to keep merging them until only one remains, and it's not going to be the Firstborn Marines. Those are not the ones that are going to still be around when, like, the entire line is eventually completely refreshed. It's going to be the Primaris stuff. You know, notable characters are being updated to Primaris. Things like the different Dreadnought variants that we've had access to as Firstborn, they have slowly been replaced with Redemptor versions of those. I mean, we've got a close combat, we've got a mix, and we've got a ranged-only Redemptor now. So that covers, basically, what the Firstborn ones could do. So it's just been a slow replacement, hasn't it? But it's just for quite a long time. We've been so used to being able to get both that it's like, oh god, they're getting rid of this. But then again, you don't need a bike squad and an Outrider squad for sale at the same time because they do the same thing. They are functionally identical, so why would you bother? And they're not going to want to. Because by this point, the people who are buying Primaris stuff, I would argue, vastly outweigh the ones who are only buying Firstborn. So it's not surprising that it's happened. I don't like the timing of it. I don't think the timing is good, because they made a big song and dance about removing stuff out of the Space Marine range to make it easier to balance when they had all these redundancies in there that you just don't need. Then you had like the whole index cards being printed with stuff that they've now said, well, yeah, we're getting rid of these because you can just use them for Primaris stuff. Well, you could have given people a little bit more of a heads up and got them used to that idea before the Codex arrived by implementing it for the index stuff. But they didn't, which doesn't quite sit right. And it's not going to have been a snap decision. They will have known they're doing this. And the timeline of it is a bit naff. But yeah. Feels weird to have it confirmed though. There you go. So much stuff on the chopping block, on the way out. Some of it kind of a bit redundant and has been for a while, but it's still weird and a bit of a shock to see them go. The thing is, it's going to be interesting to see what the overall reaction to this is, because I think for some of these units, the writing's been on the wall for a while due to having a direct Primaris equivalent, but for others there isn't one yet, but it does give us maybe a good indication as to what we're going to see in the near future. The question is, what do you make of this change? What do you make of this stuff going away? Is there anything in there that you're really going to miss? Are you content with the things that already exist to replace them, or that might show up to replace them? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. As always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you like. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Nailed it that time. Nailed it.